The palace press secretary didn't blink. No greetings, no context, just a single grim announcement that shattered the illusion of calm inside the royal gates. And just like that, the world stopped. What was meant to be a regular day of ceremonial smiles and tight-lipped formalities turned into a moment no one could have predicted. The king, Charles III, was seriously ill. And not just ill, declining fast. His condition, kept private for months, had now reached a critical stage, and the royal family could no longer contain it behind velvet curtains. But here's the twist. This announcement wasn't just about health, it was the trigger. A quiet, calculated power shift began in that very moment. Without any formal decree, Prince William and Kate Middleton stepped into the void. Not by force, not by coronation, but through something much more effective: public narrative. They didn't wait. They launched something called the Diana Initiative, and the name alone said everything. This wasn't just a tribute to William's late mother, it was a political masterstroke. A rebranding of the monarchy, a declaration that the old guard had failed and the new generation was taking over, quietly, strategically, and with unstoppable momentum. The Diana Initiative focused on mental health, community engagement, and compassion-driven service. But underneath all the noble goals, it carried a message. The crown is moving forward, and you'll either walk with us or get left behind. Kate and William didn't do it through drama, they did it with calm precision. Every appearance was on point, every message felt authentic, and while the world was still digesting the king's condition, the couple had already reshaped the monarchy's future. Charles, frail and distant, seemed to watch from the sidelines, and Camilla, Queen Consort in title, was nowhere to be seen. Her absence wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. For years, Camilla had clawed her way into public favor, from being the most hated woman in Britain to gradually becoming a soft-spoken presence beside Charles. She had played the long game, but in this moment, her strategy unraveled. William and Kate didn't mention her. The Diana Initiative didn't include her. And in a world where silence speaks louder than 1,000 headlines, Camila became invisible. Behind palace doors, whispers became roars. Camila had allegedly opposed the initiative from the beginning. She saw the writing on the wall. Diana's name brought back everything she had tried to bury: old footage, old memories, old wounds. The public never truly forgave, and now, with Diana's legacy reborn, Camila's influence vanished like mist. Staff noticed it first. Meetings canceled, calls unanswered, her closest allies suddenly reassigned. Even portraits of her started to disappear from Commonwealth offices. One by one, her achievements faded from media attention. What remained was silence. And in royal politics, that silence is lethal. Meanwhile, King Charles seemed to let it happen. Sources claimed he was no longer pushing back, that he had accepted, maybe even welcomed, the shift. After all, how much longer could he pretend to lead? His strength was gone, his voice shaky, his legacy uncertain, and the couple rising in his shadow? They weren't waiting for permission. As William leaned into his new role, he wasn't just stepping up, he was making it clear the monarchy wouldn't die with tradition, it would survive through transformation. And Kate? She wasn't just the princess anymore. She had become the face of trust, compassion, and steady leadership. Every photo of her beside grieving families or smiling children told the same story. The people had already chosen their queen. Camilla's retreat to Ray Mill wasn't a vacation, it was damage control. Once her private sanctuary, the estate now felt more like exile. For decades, Ray Mill had been her escape from royal scrutiny, a modest refuge in Wiltshire where she could breathe, far from the polished marble of palace life. But with the storm building inside Buckingham Palace, that peaceful bubble had burst. The whispers didn't stay whispers for long. Reports emerged of secret royal documents discovered inside Ray Mill. Nobody knew exactly what they contained, but rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed it was a stash of private letters between Charles and Camilla, written during the most fragile years of Diana's life. Others speculated the documents dated back to Queen Elizabeth herself. Confidential notes never meant to leave the palace. Either way, the message was clear. Camilla had kept something hidden, and now that hiding place had been breached. The press was relentless. Headlines blared about a possible investigation, journalists camped outside Ray Mill, and once again, Camilla's name became radioactive. Inside palace walls, there was panic, not just about the contents of the documents, but about what they represented. Secrets. Secrets powerful enough to bring down the fragile balance the monarchy had spent years rebuilding. Some insiders said the leak wasn't random, that it was a political move, a warning shot, a way to push Camilla out of the narrative for good. And just as public pressure began to tighten its grip, another name began to circulate. Tom Parker Bowles, her son. The once proper figure was now being quietly mentioned in Succession gossip. A stretch? Maybe. But the timing was enough to set off alarms. Meanwhile, King Charles wasn't fighting any of it. Sources close to the crown described him as withdrawn, melancholy, and oddly still. He still made appearances, still smiled for cameras, but there was something hollow behind the eyes. He wasn't resisting the change, he was surrendering to it. Some said he had even signed a confidential agreement, remaining king in name only, while transferring true authority to William and Kate. To Camilla, it was a betrayal. For years, she stood by Charles through the worst of scandals, absorbing public hate and slowly turning it into reluctant respect. She believed she'd earned her place, that the title of queen meant permanence, but now, with every passing day, she felt the title slipping into irrelevance, and Charles, the man who once shielded her from everything, had gone quiet? The emotional weight of that silence was crushing. Meetings once filled with her trusted aides were now postponed indefinitely. Her name disappeared from royal briefings. Even her charities reported radio silence from the palace press office. What began as a sidelining had turned into a full erasure. In the middle of all this, Prince William was rising fast, not with loud declarations or grand gestures, but through something more powerful: authenticity. A viral image of him sitting quietly beside a grieving widow, no speech, no cameras, just presence, became the face of a new kind of royalty, one not obsessed with tradition, but grounded in real human connection. World leaders took notice. Private audiences with William became the priority, not Charles. Diplomatic requests were routed through Kensington Palace. The shift wasn't subtle anymore. It was global. And as the palace adjusted to the new reality, so did the public. In their eyes, William wasn't just the future, he was the now. And beside him, Kate stood steady, not chasing attention, not demanding anything, but somehow commanding it all the same. While Camilla faded into the shadows of a crown she once fought to wear, Kate's calm presence had become the heartbeat of the monarchy's next chapter. The ceremony at the University of London was meant to be a defining moment for Queen Camilla, a formal acknowledgement of her years of charitable service, especially in literacy and domestic violence awareness. Everything had been rehearsed down to the second. Royal emblems were polished, media slots locked, and speeches printed. But for those paying close attention, something felt off. Camilla arrived first, stepping out with her usual poise. She smiled, she waved, but the spark was missing. Behind her, Princess Anne exited a separate carriage, expression unreadable. There was no small talk, no shared glances. When Camilla offered a discreet gesture, inviting Anne to walk ahead, a subtle nod of courtesy, Anne declined without hesitation. In the world of royalty, where every movement is choreography, that one moment hit like a headline. The cameras captured the entire thing, of course. Analysts called it a power play. Others said it was just Anne being Anne, but inside the palace, it was interpreted differently. It was a signal that the quiet war between these two women had finally reached the surface. And what made it all worse? The timing. Just days after the event, Buckingham Palace released a shocking update. Queen Camilla would not be attending the Royal Cabaret performance. Official reason? A lingering chest infection. But no one was buying it. The media was already swimming in rumors, and Camilla's sudden absence only added fuel. While she retreated, Princess Anne surged forward forward. Returning from her tour in New Brunswick, she stepped right back into public duty like nothing had happened. She visited veterans, hosted charity events, walked into every room with that unshakable, no-nonsense energy she's known for. If Camila was nursing wounds, emotional or political, Anne was drawing blood through action. The tension between them wasn't new. It stretched back decades, tangled in family history and emotional scars. Long before Camilla ever wore a crown, she was linked to Andrew Parker Bowles, the same man Anne had once loved. That story, kept quiet for generations, carried weight. Royal protocol blocked Anne from marrying Andrew due to his religion. Camilla didn't face that barrier. She married him, and later she married Charles, the same man Anne had spent years protecting from public embarrassment and emotional chaos. To Anne, loyalty is earned through service, not strategy. And Camilla? She had earned her place, yes, but through endurance, not duty. That's a distinction Anne never forgot. And now, with the monarchy teetering on transformation, that tension was no longer avoidable. Even Queen Elizabeth's reluctant approval of Camilla never fully softened the edges. Anne had made her feelings clear in private. Camilla may carry the title, but she would never carry the crown in spirit. That perspective had never been more relevant, because in the eyes of the people, another queen was emerging, and it wasn't Camilla. Kate, the Princess of Wales, had quietly become the monarchy's stabilizer. Every appearance she made felt genuine. Her presence wasn't just elegant, it was grounding. From children's hospitals to military support centers, her engagements weren't performative. They resonated. Her calm warmth reminded the public of Diana, but without the tragedy. Kate was building her own legacy, brick by brick, without fanfare or spectacle. Even internally, staff began referring to her as the monarchy's quiet compass. William trusted her judgment implicitly, and Charles, increasingly isolated, had begun leaning on her insight more than anyone expected. Where Camilla once had influence, Kate now had impact. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Camilla, watching from the shadows, found herself fading, not from scandal, but from irrelevance. And as whispers of legal tensions between her and Anne gained traction, it became evident the future of the monarchy would not wait for everyone to catch up. It had already arrived. And it was wearing Kate's smile.